Hello. So happy to have you here. Today, I want to tell you about the story of what ayahuasca taught me about anxiety. So, I'm not an expert on ayahuasca, but if you haven't heard of it, it is one of the master plants, plant medicine, that is practiced and used in ceremony and healing, mostly in South America, Peru, Colombia, although they might have a different name for it, and in Brazil. And this medicine has now been taken all over the world and is usually practiced with a shaman in ceremony setting. It's a very sacred natural medicine. So I sat with this beautiful medicine that is sometimes called the grandmother medicine because the experience that people often have through their journeys, through their ceremonies, is that there's this gentle mothering energy that comes through. And sometimes that comes firmly, but there's always so much love in whatever lesson you're receiving from the medicine. And there's other plant medicines that people may say that their spirit has a different energy. So there's a plant medicine called Huachuma, sometimes called San Pedro. That energy is sometimes interpreted as more masculine. You could imagine how the lessons from like a stern father or grandfather who's also loving, but it's like delivered a little bit differently. Some people might call mushrooms like the weird uncle or the fairy. They just kind of have their own flavor, and it depends which culture and which lineage is serving it. So ayahuasca is the grandmother medicine, and she is to be treated with so much humility. I think it's very important to be very humble when you go into these experiences, to also prepare accordingly and really give reverence to the plant that you're working with, because when you ingest it, it's going to work with your body and your spirit and your energy centers and your wounds and your mind. And I've always received, sometimes hard, but always such beautiful teachings. And she's taught me a lot about different things. She taught me a lot about control. She taught me a lot about asking for help, but what I want to talk about today is what she showed me and taught me about anxiety, because I got a really cool and clear framework for it through my ceremony. I did the ceremony in February, I believe, so it's been months now of me being able to integrate it into my life, and the integration is such an important part of the process, and also I've been able to share with my clients and see how that resonates and integrates into their life. So before we get into that framework, let's get into how anxiety shows up. So for me, I get the most anxiety around taking up too much space. I noticed the other day, I was getting my hair done, and I noticed that the hairdresser had this bright red lipstick on, and it looked so casual on her. It didn't look too fancy, like it just really suited her. And then I went to this coffee shop today and I saw this girl with this pink lipstick on, like super bright, but it still looked so casual. And I noticed that I had this story that when I wear full makeup, or if I were to wear bright lipstick, that I almost look silly. It feels like I'm dressed up or in a costume or something. And I can totally see how that is related to my farm upbringing and spending a lot of hours and days in like farm clothes, literally no makeup, and everyone around me, most people in the whole community work in agriculture. So when we saw someone dressed up, it meant something, either that they were pretentious or like a city person. It drew a lot of attention is what I'm getting at. And on some level that didn't feel safe for me. So I was seeing in that moment where I hold myself back from wearing lipstick, for example, which sometimes feels super good and fun, because I had this associated belief that has been subconscious until now, when I really started to look at it. So that's one of the ways that anxiety shows up for me. The underlying theme is being seen, specifically sometimes not wanting to attract too much attention to myself. And there's layers of that I've worked with, which is why I'm here showing up on camera now. Another way anxiety shows up for me is a fear of being out of control. So I noticed that shows up as like me wanting to know what an event is going to be like. Where's it going to be? I'm looking it up on Google Maps. I I want to know what the building looks like. I want to know what door I have to go in. I feel like I see these memes all the time about people looking at the menu ahead of time and choosing what their meal is going to be. I'm sure the meme is referencing pretending, like looking at the menu in the restaurant as if you haven't looked it up 3 times on Google and already chosen it, and trying to like play it off that you don't already know the whole menu. And that's such a real thing. It's like a way of trying to get control and predictability. And I know how anxiety shows up for my clients. I mean, it's all sorts of ways. Overthinking, feeling like you need to have time to prepare all the time, so not having a lot of capacity for spontaneity. Although you might also say you want to be spontaneous and you want to do like some random spontaneous travel trip, road trip, beach trip, but actually day-to-day spontaneity would feel like too much, and you feel like you need to practice, and if you were put on the spot for something, you might close down or get like really overwhelmed. Anxiety also shows up by playing out fake scenarios in our mind, just feeling like you need more information about things, can be a fear of getting it wrong, all of this overthinking. So I'm sure as you hear this list of examples, you are probably resonating with some of them in yourself, and maybe you also have the experience of anxiety where you just know it's in your body and you don't even know why it's happening. So there's some clear triggers, but then sometimes it's just kind of elusive, or it just feels like it's always there. And what I want to say about anxiety is that it's a survival response, right? It's something within your body telling you there may be danger here. I think you should be on the lookout. And so we do want to honor that signal within ourselves because it is important. But what's happened is that the dial of how sensitive how sensitive the dial is to being turned up and how high it goes is usually what's really out of proportion to what is actually happening in reality. And that all comes down to doing nervous system work to help regulate your system, to have a greater capacity to stay in what is called your window of tolerance, to stay regulated before your body feels anxious or stressed. So of course we don't want our window of tolerance to be too big. We need our survival responses to keep us safe in some scenarios, but we don't want it to be too small either. And when we're in our window of tolerance, that's when we get to feel calm and open and present and peaceful and creative. That's when we access flow state. We feel safe in our body. So as I say this list, I want you to just consider, how often are you in that state? Maybe you have glimpses of it in the morning. Maybe it's only when you meditate. Maybe it's after you work out. But if it's not 6 or 7 or 8 plus hours a day, then there's probably some room to expand your window of tolerance. Because when we're outside the window of tolerance, we are in a fight, flight, fawn, or freeze response. And anxiety falls into one of those categories. It can show up differently for different people, depending how it manifests in your body or in your behavior or in your thoughts or your actions. You might be able to identify, oh, I go into fawn when I'm anxious, or I go into freeze, or I procrastinate, I shut down, I stay in bed. Maybe I go into fight, I feel defensive, I feel attacked, I feel irritated, etc. So now that we have a little bit of a picture of what anxiety is and all these examples of how it shows up, I will share with you what I saw in the ayahuasca experience. So I'm going to explain it as it unfolded for me. So what often happens in the ceremony, you're probably sitting in a circle in a fire, there might be music, there's a shaman. It's been at night for me every time. Sometimes it's during the day. So you take the medicine. And of course, already my mind is starting to race. What's going to happen? Am I relaxing? I need to relax. I need to relax to let the medicine work. I need to surrender. And after about 20 minutes, I just start getting this message, be here. Just be here now. And so I'm like, okay, yeah, I just need to be here, come back to my breath. And then I was given or kind of shown the invitation to take in the fullness of this moment. And this is actually a term that one of my mentors, Nina, says a lot. She talks about the fullness of the moment. And what I've noticed in ayahuasca ceremonies is that sometimes these spiritual teachings that I've read about or learned in other ways land really deeply. So we hear these things and probably something in your body is like, yes, that's true, that feels like truth about energy or spirituality, whatever it is, personal development even. And my experience when I'm with ayahuasca is that I feel the depths of that truth, like this undeniable, it just feels very undeniable that these things are real. So something that Nina says is the fullness of the moment. And in this ceremony, it's like I was really hearing that different full. And I started to realize what was in the moment. And this is something you can do right now. So what is in this moment right now? Are there plants here? Are there pets you love? Are there people you love? Is there sunlight? Is there a sense of comfort and warmth where you are? What's in your moment? Is there fresh air? Are there birds singing? And can you notice what happens as you start to bring all your awareness here? It's like we sort of unbutton or unhinge from all the recent thoughts or questions or stories or the overthinking, and we just arrive here, back here into the fullness of the moment. There's already a lot going on here. And I think the difference between coming into the present moment and experiencing the fullness of the moment really allowed me to feel into all that is in the present moment. So we can think about the idea of being present and I want to be present, but what does that actually mean? Like, does that mean just staring at a wall and having no thoughts or meditating without any thoughts? But when you stop and slow down and take in everything that's here, you see how full the moment is, and probably that there's some pretty amazing, beautiful things in the present moment, even though they're simple, like, the sun is shining, my fridge is full of food, like, oh, this is actually where I want to be. It feels really good to be in this present moment when I see how much peace is in this moment and reality is in the moment. And then what I saw is this clear visual of how everything that's not in the present moment is in 2D. It's only in our minds, it's only in a memory. And I was seeing it for some reason as like Polaroid photos, like the past and the future are just 2D. Only the current moment is 3D. The current moment is all you can touch, it's all you can smell. It's, it's the 3D, right? And the past, the future, visions, memories, daydreams are 2D. And this is relevant because we so often spend a lot of time in our thoughts outside of the present moment. And again, the present moment is where there's ease. The present moment is where there's safety. And that's what we want to feel when we're feeling anxiety. So I started to question this framework because that's what my critical, discerning mind wants to do. It's like, well, what about this? What about that? And then what I was explained in the medicine ceremony is that if we let our mind take us to a painful memory from the past, we are making a choice to give away our peace by indulging in the painful moment of the past. And there is a reason why our brain does this. It's trying to keep us safe. It's like if I just play this memory over and over and over, then hopefully it won't happen again because I'm remembering how painful it is. I'm keeping myself close to the pain so that I can avoid it happening again by not forgetting. And if things get too good, then I get scared that things are going to get bad, so I might as well just stay in the bad. That's what something in our brain does. But when you use your full conscious awareness as a sovereign being and connect to how valuable your attention and your awareness is, then we can see how it's a choice. If I'm indulging in these painful memories of the past, it's a choice to give away my peace. I'm saying I'm going to leave the present moment where there's sun and ease and water and a blanket or whatever's here, and I'm going to go back there. And it's a choice. Now, the future. If the future is a daydream that is not rooted in reality, then we are feeding ourselves opportunities for disappointment. And this can really be highlighted for the anxious attachment because anxious attachers usually have this subconscious belief that relationships are going to end or people are going to leave. And so we're often anticipating When's the other shoe gonna drop? When's he gonna call it off? When is he gonna break up with me? This assumption that it's gonna happen because he didn't text me back for 4 hours, this relationship is probably over. Because this happened, like, surely he doesn't want to hang out with me anymore. And when we have a subconscious belief that is that strong, we will unconsciously attract situations that continue to validate that belief. Whatever beliefs you have, whether you know you have them or not, those are the things that are driving us to the people we interact with, to the things we say yes to the choices we make, and our behaviors. So if I'm fantasizing about a guy that I just met, and I'm playing out some idea of what our next date is going to be, and then we're going to travel, and then we're going to be married, I'm basically just setting myself up for failure. So if I'm projecting my awareness from the 3D into the 2D of a potential future that isn't rooted in reality, I'm setting myself up for disappointment. That's the reason why we wouldn't want to go into the past and the future, right? It's taking us away from the present and it's draining our energy. But then there's also a side of this sort of model that I was seeing where there are reasons to go into the past and the future. And so what I saw is that a positive memory from the past can be something that we look at and we feel, and it should be something that we look at to hold with reverence and gratitude or inspiration. So you've probably had the experience of feeling back on something and wanting it again, which is actually more of a way to also feel disappointed because it's this sense of I can't have or I don't get that anymore, which goes back into giving up your peace in order to be in this memory. And the flip side of that is that if we are going to be in the past, looking at those memories with gratitude or reverence and wow, that was really powerful. Wow, I'm so glad that I get to have that I got to experience that in my human memory box. And there might be an ache, there might be a yearning for that feeling, for a similar experience, but you're looking at the memory with gratitude. And that's the difference. That's how you keep your power, basically, and your peace. On the other side, instead of the forward projection being a daydream that's not rooted in reality, we can be in the future with desire. And a desire is something that should be held as a trusted destination. Because I want that thing, I know I'm on my way, and now I can take action from the present. Hopefully that's landing. I'm realizing that there might be a question here, but where does overthinking go? So I feel like overthinking is the same thing about the past. It's like we're giving away our peace for an illusion to maintain control. So hopefully this is landing. Hopefully you're feeling and seeing it the way that I was able to, and how I've integrated this in my own life, and how you can as well, is really starting to notice when I am overwhelmed or worried about the future, when I'm overthinking, when I'm saying stories about like, what if this, what if that, just in fear stories, and just bringing myself back to the fullness of the moment. The breath is a powerful tool to do that, which is why all meditation teachers, yoga teachers are always starting with the breath, because it's a pattern interrupt to tune back into the moment through your body. So I breathe and I come back into the moment, and I might feel the stress, but slowly I just start to let my body arrive here, and I notice again, what's here, what's in the fullness of the moment. Sunlight, plants, water, coffee, a bowl of fruit, there's music, and then maybe a minute later, my mind starts to race off again, and I just bring myself back to the present moment. And in the case of fantasizing, for example, that's something that we really have to be able to catch ourselves in. It can be so dopamine provoking to think about the future with someone and potential experiences and adventures or dates or whatever your mind comes up with. And we have to be discerning with when and where that might be a potential self-sabotage, where that might set us up for disappointment. And of course, it's exciting to get excited about someone, but we have to check in. Are these daydreams rooted in reality? Am I using my mind and my fantasy as a coping mechanism? Am I painting things with rose-colored glasses? Because the more that we can be in tune with what our mind is playing out, because it's constantly trying to do stuff, the more we can bring ourselves back to reality. And when you're in reality, everything's easier. When you're in the 3D, you get to be grounded. You get to be in your window of tolerance, most likely, and you can make more clear decisions. We get to see things very clearly, and that's what the practice is. And it's one of those practices that's probably going to take 1,000 times, and I'm going to completely forget it for weeks on end or days on end before I get to 1,000. But it's also simple, and it's also incredibly effective. And when you can do this, then you're going to save so much energy that is spent in the 2D, which is not real. The past is just not real anymore. The future, you don't know. And so when we project our energy in those directions, it's just such a drain and an energy leak, and oftentimes a waste. Plus, the more time you spend here in the fullness of the moment, the still, the quiet, the sunlit, most of your moments day to day, most of my moments day to day are pretty peaceful. If I'm in my head, it might be very loud, but if I just tune into the moment, it's very peaceful. And the more you bring yourself there, the more your body starts to get used to the reality of being there. Your body starts to be like, oh, okay, it's okay to be in the present. I'm safe to be in the present. I don't have to worry. I don't have to overthink. The less your mind will go into survival mode, the less you need to exit the window of tolerance for some perceived or dreamed up stress or worry. We get more time to be calm and open and surrendered. So I hope what you're taking with you from this episode is the visualization that our thoughts are just 2D and the present moment is 3D. That's probably the strongest part that has really stuck with me. And if you'd like some guided exercise around moving anxiety, settling anxiety, working with anxious attachment thoughts and loops, then my Becoming Secure community is great place for you. So if you'd like more on anxiety and actual guided somatic practices to help land this in the body and work on deeper levels with all those pieces, let's work on why the overthinking happens. Let's work on expanding your window of tolerance. Then what you need to be doing is somatic work. Somatic work is the nervous system and body-based work and my specialty in my practice. So you can access that through my women's community, which is called Becoming Secure. There's a whole library of these practices. And also I do a live workshop once a month. So I'm guiding you live into the somatic work, and based on whatever the theme of the month is, it's constantly changing every single month. So there's new areas to focus, new experiences for you to have, and I'm in there coaching as well. So you can talk to me live on a Q&A. We can talk about your actual process, your actual experience, and I can guarantee if you go in there for just 1 week, even though most women are in there like 3, 6, 12 months, if you go in there for 1 week and do like 3 of the guided somatic practices, you will start to notice and feel less anxiety in your life. And just imagine if you are in your window of tolerance only 3 hours a day or 4 hours a day, and then all of a sudden you could be there 6 hours a day and feel calm way more often. Would it be worth this time investment? Yes, it would. Yes, it would. Yes, it would. So the link for you is in the description of this video. Look for Becoming Secure, and I will meet you inside. Also, final disclaimer, ayahuasca is a sacred psychoactive plant medicine. So if you are going to explore that as an option for your healing, number one, I would love to talk to you about it. You can message me on Instagram or within the Becoming Secure community. And number two, just make sure that you are really taking care of yourself in that journey and finding someone that you trust to facilitate that experience. Okay, hope to see you soon. Take care.